Angel Nieves is a former NYPD detective and says...
The late photographer, journalist Ardina Seward. Nice to see you, Ardina.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey everybody, guess who's here? This is the real star. This is my little cat. This is Buddha. Buddha, say hi. Welcome everybody to the show. Buddha says hi. She just jumped on my lap because she knows that it's time to do the show. And she knows we're going to have an interesting show tonight because we have a guest on who was here before. And she has written, one of the reasons why she's on tonight is because she has written a book. She is an animal psychic. I want to say a pet psychic, but pet psychic is a little restricted. She's an animal psychic. Angel, let's roll some video. There you have it, our guest Karen Anderson, who is and Karen has written this book. Karen, I want to ask you.
Sorry.
I thought it was like magic and that you would pop out of nowhere.
No, the animals were, as soon as we went live, the animals, of course, wanted my attention. So
that's this one that's in my lap right now. As soon as she hears me talking, then she's got to jump in there. But that's okay, Boo, right? So,
you know, animals are allowed in the show.
Exactly. I bring them all in here, but they wouldn't fit.
Why have you written this book?
Oh, well, this was really a culmination of discovering how healing afterlife messages and signs can be, especially for someone who's lost a beloved companion. And, we get stuck in that dark place of grief, and sometimes we don't know how to get out of it, myself included. And once I started to realize how powerfully healing a sign from the afterlife can be, it just cemented in my mind that I needed to write this book to share with others that, physical death is not the end, and our beloved companions are still with us. They want us to know that they're near, that they see what's going on in our life. They love us. That love never ends. And I had like millions of stories to share, so I had to put it down into a book.
So, there's a whole question about pets and the afterlife, animals and the afterlife, about whether animals have souls, whether they evolve, whether they're reincarnated. In your book, did you approach any of that?
Well, this is about signs from the afterlife and finding hope and healing through those signs. So there are chapters about all these incredible signs that animals have sent. There is a section on reincarnation, but anybody who has spent any time with an animal knows they have a soul just like we do. Anyone who thinks that an animal doesn't have a soul, I think they don't have a soul. Truly. Yes, of course, animals have a soul, and they feel just like we do, and they sense things, in far greater detail than we do. And I think in many ways they're far more spiritually advanced than we are because they don't fear death, and they are far more accepting of the end of life than humans are. I've learned more about life and death and the afterlife from the animals than any human has ever taught me.
What has been some of your most unique experiences with animals that have passed on?
Oh, I think with the sessions that I've conducted over the past 26 years, there is an incredible feeling that comes through when an animal that somebody has lost shares a message that is so specific and so accurate about something that happened even after their death that they would have obviously no way of knowing otherwise, and they share that with me. It is a profound healing that takes place. I can actually feel the energy shift in that moment because that message is so powerful. The healing just starts immediately. They're so incredible how they help us on our journey.
You know, you've heard the phrase "cats have 9 lives." Does that mean that cats pass through the veil 9 times before they ultimately pass through that final veil, or is it just sort of something that is incorporated in cat mythology?
Oh, I think that's just because they seem to get themselves into some pretty crazy predicaments sometimes, and they somehow get out of them miraculously. They truly are spiritual beings. They're highly evolved. Cats are incredibly smart, and they make a fool out of me all the time. I'm a cat lover. I have a lot of cats. And let me tell you, if a cat has a chance to make me look bad, they're going to take that opportunity to. They give me misinformation. You know, they'll tell me that, oh, I don't feel like I'm going to stay in this body much longer. And then lo and behold, 6 months later, they're still alive and well. So, yeah, cats are there. You just never know.
For somebody who's newly grieved, who just lost a pet, you know, it's very, very painful. It happened in my own house. Uh, like 3 weeks ago, the little kitten that I brought to my daughter, like I would say 13, 14 years ago, grew into a big cat and passed on. And she was devastated because that cat had been with her for 14 years. And I tried to comfort her the best that I could. I mean, I was grieving also, but since it was really her cat, it was just devastating. She was with him, right? Gomez was his name. She was with Gomez right to the end. And how do you comfort someone like that? What do you tell them except it's going to be all right, or I feel sorry for you? I mean,
I think it's really important that we meet that person where they are. So if they are deeply grieving, meet them there. And I talk about this in great detail in my book. I think, condolences are, nice and they're meaningful, but it doesn't acknowledge somebody's pain.
right.
And when someone is deeply grieving, I think it's best to just meet them where they're at and acknowledge their loss and let them either talk about it or not talk about it. I wouldn't tell them everything's okay because everything's not okay. They just lost someone they love. And I wouldn't tell them that, this is really common too, well, just go adopt another pet or just go rescue another life. And, that may work for some, but not for everyone. And we need to be in that moment of our pain. We need to experience it as much as it hurts. So just meet them where they're at. Ask them if they want to talk about it. Do you want to talk about it? Is there anything I can do? Do you want to share something with me? Or do you just want me to be here with you and hold this space with you? I think it's really important to let people grieve. And it's not fun, but we need to grieve. It's normal. Grief is a part of life.
In terms of, I know you want to jump in, Angel. I have one more quick question. You raised the point uh, before about getting another pet. Is it advisable for somebody to say replace the pet? It's the wrong word. Is it okay for somebody to get another pet after their beloved pet has passed away? And
Again,
how soon should they do that?
I think it's an individual thing. I mean, it just depends on what feels right to you. It may not feel right to some people. They feel like they need more time to process their feelings, and that's fine too. There's no right or wrong. And the one thing I think that's important to share here, Ardina, is the fact that animals that have transitioned into the afterlife, they never feel that they're being replaced. That is a human concept only. So if anybody is watching this or listening and they feel like they are betraying their beloved companion or replacing them somehow and they don't want to upset the one that just passed away, that doesn't happen. In fact, the opposite is true. So the love that we share in any form, if that's with another animal or maybe with a human or just loving ourselves, when we share love, when we live our life in a loving way, our departed animal companions benefit from the love that comes from us, however we deliver that, to whomever we deliver that. Just the same, they can sense our love, they can also sense our pain. So it can actually benefit the animals who have transitioned, that are on the other side in the afterlife. It can benefit them if you open your heart and welcome somebody new into your life, because you're sharing love, and that love can immediately benefit your loved ones in the afterlife. But it's not for everyone. You know, you have to do what's right for you.
So in other words, I understand. You make a good point that the love that you basically you're recycling the love that you got from your animal to another animal, and it's just passing on your animal's love and your animal's goodness to another animal.
It is. You're like a beacon of energy. So your departed loved ones, both human and animal, they see you as kind of like a brilliant, glowing orb of energy. And in that orb of energy are all of your emotions, the good ones, the not so good ones, and everything in between. So if you live a life where you are always in the lower level emotions, the pain, the grief, the depression, the sorrow, they can sense and feel everything that you feel, and they may not understand it. They don't understand that every time you think of them, you are upset and you cry, and it makes you sad when you think of them. Sometimes if it's been a long time and you're not working on moving into a better space of healing, your animal companions can feel that they are responsible for your sadness. So it can confuse them. That's why it's so important to really express your feelings and don't try to avoid them, as painful as they are when you struggle with a loss. Make sure that you really stay in that moment as much as it hurts and process all of those feelings so that you can move into the next phase. And I'm not a grief expert. I am just like everyone else when I lose one of mine. I am completely broken and shattered when I lose one of mine. I don't get any shortcuts through any of this. I go through all the same stages as everyone else, and it hurts. So you really have to work on realizing that we are a spiritual being having a physical experience, and our loved ones on the other side can sense everything that we're going through. And they want us to move into a more balanced emotional place when we're ready. Don't rush it, but when we're ready.
Angel, I think you want to ask, you want to speak up.
Yes, I do. So I was listening to everything you're saying. I was thinking about my dog Chris, which in the afterlife, you met Chris, and when he passed away, it was hard for the family. I mean, this is like almost like a son.
Yeah.
And 15 years, and it was like sudden for me Even though I know it's getting old, I know it's about that time, but he caught the seizures, and it was going one after another, and that's when they had to put him down. And my family don't want another dog. They don't want another pet because of so much suffering that we had when he died. They don't want to go through the same suffering again. So, that's why it's good, like you said, individuals. I mean, I have two birds, two parakeets, and they say females don't get along, but these two females do get along. And they listen to me, I sing to them, and I just can't pet them, but everything else goes, I could even feed them. So I understand that part. But also another thing that because I read some parts of your book, and I remember I noticed this that what happens with dogs, I mean with animals, is the same like humans with other animals. It's like let me make this simpler because it sounds confusing. Well, my mother, she was always with birds. I mean, it's like from generations from we're always birds. So that's why I have birds at home. I still follow the generation. They say it keeps evil spirits away, but I keep them because I love them. But when my mother, my daughters did something to my mother when she was well, and the glass was very clean, and my mother crashed into the glass, and they all started laughing. So my mother got upset. She said, I'm gonna pay you back one of these days. I'm gonna pay you back. And they were laughing, right? You know how kids are. But then when she passed, the girls, we went to the funeral, the burial, and everything, and we went home. We opened the door, and a bird came and crashed into the glass, like my mother,
Wow.
and it
Wow.
went down. And then the girls like, "Oh my God, call the vet, do this, do that, pick him up." The bird got up and flew inside the house. And out of all the pictures in my house, I got pictures of everybody. This bird flew behind the picture of my mother and my father
Wow. I just got goosebumps.
and started doing peekaboo.
Wow.
Started doing peekaboo like this. And I'm right next to this bird. And this bird's like, so I'm trying to grab the bird. And didn't try to run away or they just kept on going back like, you're not going to get me. And then, like, my daughters had said, that's grandma. That's grandma. So we opened up the balcony door. I said, go fly away. And the bird actually listened and just flew away. And this reminded me of your book because the
Yep.
same thing happened with Bob Bailey, the Black Labrador from England. He took more about this is him right here. The same thing happened. Can you say a story about Bailey?
Yeah. I mean, you could have had a chapter in my book, Angel. You should have told me this story. I would have included it.
I got
Um,
a lot of stories.
it's truly amazing. I mean, we can't even make this stuff up. These stories are so phenomenal and they're so poignant and they're so like just amazing. It's mind-blowing how creative that our loved ones can get just to help us. They want to help us, without interfering in our lives. We have to live our lives. That's why we're here. So they want to help us as much as they can. And they take every opportunity they can to send us signs and messages, just like that bird that flew into the window. I mean, that's incredible. And you know that something amazing is happening when you experience something like that. It's almost like you get electrified, or you can feel the energy, just like there's something unique and special about it. And, this happens a lot. And many people will brush it off and say, oh, that was just coincidence. That's just, one thing that happened. But if you look at all the moments, or the goosebumps moments, or the dreams that you have where your loved ones visit in your dreams, or if you find a coin or a feather or something that reminds you of them, or you hear their name, if you connect the dots to all of those experiences, you'll see a pattern, and you'll see that there's signs all around. It's just us. We don't always see them, or we may not be ready to see them. That's part of it too. Sometimes we're not ready because we're still in so much pain.
But also, we just don't pay mind to it because so many things we're doing in life that we don't actually. Some people even get hit by a car by not paying attention.
Right.
So little things like that, you know. But also you had. I read another chapter of yours about Lexi.
Yeah.
Can you talk more about Lexi? Because you remind me of episode that we had about the way Lexi died.
Yeah. So Lexi's story was just a heartbreak. She is a beautiful tricolored collie, and really good girl, very trustworthy in the house. And when her mom Carrie would run errands, she would leave Lexi in the house and everything was fine. She'd done this for 13 years and never had any issues. And one time Carrie came back from running errands and Lexi didn't come to the door when she got home. So she knew right away that something was wrong. When she went looking for her, she finally found her. And quite tragically, she had gotten into some of the boxes for recycling that Carrie had left in the kitchen. And one of them was a cereal box that had a plastic liner. And Lexi stuck her head into the cereal box and got the plastic liner stuck on her face. And she suffocated and passed away. So just tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is,
People don't know exactly about these bags, cereal bags, potato chips. These, I mean, we did a whole episode on that, right, Dina?
we did.
One of our shows. I hope people go back to shows and watch it. Um, the animals, the bags are fresh. So what happens, they keep it fresh, so they keep it sealed for the food to be fresh. So what happens is when the dog puts its head in there and starts breathing, it's like sucks the bag up. And when they suck the bag up, that's when they suffocate because there's no air to breathe in there. And people see that on the street. Oh, that's funny. They start laughing. Oh, that's cute. Let's do video. But meanwhile, the dog is suffering in there and could actually die, which
Right.
happened to Lexi.
Right.
In a situation like that, Karen, how if you could counsel the pet owner, because there is probably a degree of guilt about how that pet passed away. So the pet owner is dealing not only with the passing of that pet, but also feeling that they in some way may have been at fault. So how do you advise a pet owner about their guilt?
Well, I don't think anybody could go through something like that and not feel guilty or not feel responsible. I know I would. And I've had situations happen even if one of my companion animals dies of old age. I still feel a little bit of maybe remorse or something. I don't know what it is, that maybe I didn't pay enough attention to them or give them the exact dosage of their medicine, or maybe I should have taken them in one last time for a checkup, or maybe I shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? I do it too. We all do. We second guess everything, especially when tragedy strikes. And when it's something like this, where you leave something out, such as recycling, never intending for your animal to die from it, and yet that's what happens. I mean, that's a nightmare. And there's so much guilt involved with that. And it's painful. It's a really tough battle. There's no easy way through it. And I don't have any counseling abilities whatsoever. What I am is I am an animal communicator, and I deliver messages, and I deliver their what's their meaning behind it and what they're trying to share with their human. So all I am is the messenger. I'm the middleman. I'm just saying, here's your animal, here's their energy, here's what they're telling me, and I deliver that message. So what I recommend though is I write about this in the new book. It's chapter 4 actually. It's called Guilt, Forgiveness, and Remorse, and it's all about what we just talked about. How do you process that? How do you handle that? It's not easy, and there's no simple 1 2 3, just let it go or whatever. It takes a lot of work, and only you have the ability to choose what you are going to do with your thoughts. Your thoughts are things. They go out into the universe and they create your future. So if you're only thinking about the tragedy that happened, you are drawing more tragedy into your future. You're drawing more trauma into your life. So we have to, at some point, we have to realize that once we start to shift our perspective, and it can be small little increments, once we shift away from the tragedy and we try to use all of that emotion in a more positive way to help us heal and help our beloved companions on the other side, then we can get into that space where we aren't beating ourselves up day and night because it was an accident. Accidents happen. They've happened to me, and they're unavoidable for the most part because our intention was never to harm. And the animals know that. They would never say, oh, you left the door open, so I ran out in front of a car and died. It's all your fault. They would never say that. That would not be a message that you would ever hear from your beloved companion. They chose to run out that door. They chose that direction. You didn't put them in harm's way. Yes, the door got left open accidentally, but it wasn't intentional. It wasn't like you were trying to harm your animal. And they seem to sense that on a higher level. And I think that's the one thing that you have to come to terms with is, what's in your heart? Did you set out to harm your animal? No, of course not. You would never harm them. And they know that. So that's why they would never hold us responsible for what happened, no matter what. That is a human concept, to blame ourselves for a tragic accident.
Well, you know something? We are at the end of our show, but Karen, honestly, you summed it up. I mean, in a very almost poetic, spiritual way. Very impressive. We encourage everybody to go out and get your book. Angel, you want to put the book graphic up again so people can see? The pet I can't forget, and they can get that book on your website or at Amazon.com. How do they go about getting that book?
Well, you can order a signed copy of paperback from my website of KarenAnderson.net. It's available on Amazon worldwide and Kindle, and it'll be on Audible soon. We're just on the beginning chapters. The Audible is going to take a little bit longer, but eventually it will be there.
And you also got 2 other books.
I do. I have 2 other books.
Right here.
Oh, there they are. There they are. The Amazing Afterlife of Animals and Here All Creatures. And the trio of books goes into my background in law enforcement. It's what Angel and I have in common. I was a deputy sheriff in Bailey, Colorado, and that's where my psychic abilities snowballed. So you can read about that in my earlier books. And truly, the one thing that our beloved companions want us to know is the bonds of love never die, never. And they are eternal. And the more that you invite your animal companions to send you a sign, and the more open you are to receiving a sign, the more likely you will be to get them. And they may come in a big way.
Well,
But also, you do a real quick, because it's mainly, we'll talk about Afterlife, but you're also a beautiful person with sanctuary animals.
Oh, gosh, thank you. So not everybody knows this, but Painted Rain Ranch is my nonprofit animal sanctuary. We rescue the pets that no one else wants, the ones that are missing a limb or an eye or an ear or have health issues. All the proceeds from my books, all the proceeds from my online animal communication course, all of those proceeds go to the animals. And we rescue the ones that need a forever loving home. Once they're here on the ranch, they stay here as part of the family and they live out their natural lives with us.
Wow. Well, the next time you're on the show, we want to talk more about Painted Rain Ranch. But for the time being, folks, go out there, get that book, listen to what Karen has to say, because what she has to say has merit. I'll let this guy over here have the last word.
I have the last word.
You have the last word.
Last word. Listen, Karen, you know I love you.
I love you too, man.
Your family to me, you know,
Yep.
we work together, and I love your book. You know,
Thank
I didn't read
you.
the whole thing. I read like 9-10 chapters, and I was like really, really into it. So I know. Listen, people, if you want to know more about your animals, get her books, and
It's
you
not
know,
a sad book. It's not sad. It has, obviously, there are moments of sadness, but it's very inspiring. It's very uplifting and it's very helpful. It can help you out of a very dark place. So if you know someone struggling with the loss of an animal companion, this is the book for them. The Pet I Can't Forget.
it's more like understanding. And
Yes.
know the more knowledge you have, the more understanding, and the better it's for you. So, people, please spay, neuter your pets, and do you know where your pets are?